Tonight, we watched a lawmaker drop a devastating what if on Special Counsel Jack Smith, because it cuts straight through the fog and exposes the rot. If there hadn't been the January 6th riots, would this entire special prosecutor crusade, this whole attack on democracy narrative, even exist? And Smith didn't answer it. He couldn't answer it. He danced, he dodged, he hid behind hypotheticals like a man staring at a spotlight he can't escape, because the moment you pull that thread, you start seeing the pattern. Selective outrage, selective charges, selective storytelling. While the country is drowning in scandals, collapsing trust, weaponized institutions, politicians screaming justice while playing games with power, Smith sits there stiff, defensive, terrified of a simple question, trying to smother it before it spreads. You can practically see the panic, the tight jaw, the careful phrasing, the desperate need to control the frame, because when the public starts asking why this case exists the way it does, the cover-up stops being optional and starts becoming the whole story. Jack Smith didn't answer the question tonight. He ran from it. The moment the heat got real, he slammed the door with the same tired shield over and over. Hypothetical, unrealistic, counterfactual. Anything to avoid a straight response. And that's not careful lawyering, that's damage control. Because when a prosecutor can't defend the logic of his own storyline in plain English, what you're watching is the system choking on its own contradictions, collapsing public trust, institutions accused of playing politics, selective accountability that always seems to land on the same targets, and a country left wondering whether justice is being used as a brand instead of a principle. You can practically see the panic in the way he retreats into jargon, eyes locked, voice tight, posture rigid, like a man desperately trying to keep the narrative from slipping through his fingers. He's not just refusing a question, he's protecting the frame, burying the uncomfortable implications before they explode, because if the public starts noticing what he won't say, the story stops being about accountability and starts being about what they're hiding. Tonight, Brad Knott did what almost nobody in Washington has the spine to do. He threw Jack Smith's own words back in his face. Not spin, not vibes, receipts. Unprecedented criminal conspiracy. Unprecedented attack on democracy. Those were Smith's dramatic, headline-ready statements. Language designed to shake the country, dominate the news cycle, and brand this case as the moral emergency of our lifetime. But here's the problem. When you talk like that, you don't get to hide behind lawyerly fog when someone asks whether your actions actually match your rhetoric. And the moment Knott cited those lines, you could feel the air change. Smith tightening up, guarded, choosing every syllable like a man trying to walk across glass without anyone hearing it crack. Because this isn't just about one prosecutor's talking points, it's about a system drowning in credibility crises, selective enforcement, political theater masquerading as justice, and institutions demanding trust while refusing transparency. When your public script is unprecedented, but your answers turn into evasions and careful exits, it looks less like confidence and more like a panic response, a scramble to keep the narrative from collapsing under the weight of its own exaggerations. Tonight, Brad Knott put a dagger right into the heart of Jack Smith's narrative, and you could almost hear the wheels grinding. Because here's the ugly contradiction. Smith goes out on national television with blockbuster rhetoric, unprecedented attack on democracy, criminal conspiracy, the kind of language meant to terrify the public and crown himself the guardian of the republic. But when you look at what's actually being alleged here, the big rebellion and overthrow the government accusations aren't even in the picture. That's not a minor detail, that's the entire point. If you're going to sell the country a 5-alarm fire, you don't get to quietly file paperwork that reads like a different story. And the moment Knott spelled out that mismatch, Smith's whole posture screamed panic management. Tight voice, careful pauses, eyes fixed like he's calculating every word to avoid stepping on the wrong landmine. Because this isn't just one case, it's a credibility crisis stacked on top of another credibility crisis. Institutions demanding trust while dodging hard questions, prosecutors using maximum drama for public consumption, and a system that looks less like justice and more like a narrative operation. When the rhetoric is nuclear but the accusations don't match the apocalypse talk, people start asking the only question that matters. What exactly are they trying to cover up? And why are they so afraid to say it plainly? Tonight, Brad Knott walked straight into the danger zone and said what millions of Americans have been thinking. How do you claim a massive, unprecedented conspiracy, wield unlimited power, money, lawyers, subpoenas, an entire federal machine, yet somehow the indictment, as discussed here, lands on one name, Donald Trump, while casually admitting there are 6 other accomplices in the story? That is not precision. That is not justice. That looks like a rigged narrative. Big scary language for the cameras, selective targets for the paperwork, and a convenient fog around everyone else. Because if this is truly as huge as they keep selling it, then where are the other charges? Where is the full accounting? Where is the equal accountability? And you could see the panic the second Knott pressed it. Smith tightening up, retreating into careful phrasing, jaw clenched, eyes locked forward like a man trying not to blink under a spotlight. This is what happens when institutions drown in credibility crises. Weaponization accusations, selective enforcement accusations, public trust collapsing, and prosecutors acting like the story matters more than the standard. When you've got the power to indict the world, but only pull the trigger on the one politically radioactive target, while the co-conspirators stay unnamed and untouched, you don't look brave. You look afraid. Tonight, Jack Smith tried to sell the public a comforting little excuse that should make your alarm bells scream, "We could charge other people, but we're focusing on Trump because we think he's the most culpable." Think about how convenient that is. He's basically admitting the story involves more players, more coordination, more potential wrongdoing, yet he's asking you to accept a prosecution strategy that feels less like transparent justice and more like carefully curated optics. In a moment when trust is collapsing, courts under attack, agencies accused of bias, politics poisoning everything, Smith wants you to believe this isn't selective, isn't strategic, isn't managed. But the way he delivers it says otherwise. Stiff posture, clipped answers, lawyerly phrasing, like a man gripping the edge of the table because he knows one wrong sentence blows the whole frame wide open. We could, we believe, we think. That's not clarity, that's cover. Because if you truly have the evidence, you don't hide behind vague maybes while insisting the public just trust your judgment. And when the defense to "why only one target" becomes "because we chose him," what people hear is simple. They're controlling the narrative, not confronting the full truth. Tonight, you watched Washington's favorite magic trick in real time. Say "no politics" enough times and hope the public stops asking questions. Brad Knott kept pressing, and Jack Smith kept repeating the same rehearsed line. Politics played no role in the decisions, no role in the public statements, no role in the timing, over and over, like an incantation. But in a country drowning in credibility collapses, weaponization claims, selective enforcement fears, partisan media spin, and institutions begging for trust they haven't earned, those words don't reassure people anymore. They raise suspicion, because when someone is truly confident, they don't cling to a slogan. They explain, they show receipts, they answer directly. Instead, Smith sits there guarded and rigid, measuring every syllable like a man trying to keep a lid on a boiling pot. Eyes forward, jaw tight, tone controlled, because one honest admission, one slip, and the whole purely non-political performance cracks in front of everyone. If this is as clean as he claims, why does it look like panic management? Why does it sound like damage control? And that's the bottom line. If your defense is just repeating "no politics" like a slogan, you're not answering the public. You're trying to train the public. Real justice doesn't need a PR shield. It needs transparency, consistency, and accountability that doesn't change depending on who's in the headline. So don't let the talking points distract you from the pattern. Dodge the hard questions, control the narrative, and demand trust without proving it. If you want the full breakdown, the key moments, and what they didn't want you to notice, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications.